So great, let's start the meeting. First item on the agenda are adjustments to the agenda, and we do have a couple. We'd like to add to the consent agenda adoption of the emergency management plan, the local emergency management plan, and the appointment of our appointees to the Regional Emergency Management Committee. And both of those documents were in the packet that was sent out. Unless somebody wants to discuss them, we can put them on the consent agenda. And then second, I'd like to add
Number 9.
appointments to town boards and commissions, and I'd like to add that to item number 9, just ahead of the select board work plan priorities. That's okay.
Do we have a copy of it?
We do.
Yeah, I gave it, the copy is with I gave you 3
you
sheets.
give me a
of
hard
paper.
copy, okay.
Yeah, it's a hard copy.
Okay.
And there is a copy in the meeting packet. There's not a copy in the meeting
There's
packet?
not a packet.
There is not.
I apologize.
That's of the appointments.
That's right.
Yeah.
That was my fault, I'm sorry.
So is that okay? I guess we need a motion for that.
I also, do we want to discuss the letter to the Mad River Green Shopping Center? Do we want to?
Why don't we do that under the town administrator's report?
Okay. And I want to pull the minutes
You wanna put
of
those?
the,
As do I, from the consent agenda, please.
Okay, we'll put those as our last item before the consent agenda. Anything else, any other changes? Is there a motion to do all that?
I'd make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I,
Second item is if there is any public forum. I don't think so. So we'll go on to executive session, and,
think
go ahead, Larissa.
we have to find, I think we have to find that it's necessary, correct?
Yes, yep, you make one motion finding that premature general knowledge of confidential attorney-client communications made for the purpose of providing professional legal services to the public body, clearly place the public body or person involved at a substantial disadvantage. Vote on that, and then move to enter executive session, but pursuant to, it should be 313.
A3. A1, sorry.
Yeah, A1.
So, Larissa, are you making that motion to?
I am making that motion. So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
And then a motion to
Aye.
enter into executive session pursuant to 1 VSA 313A1. Anybody like to make that motion?
Yes.
Touch? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
And
Aye.
I'm sorry, and this to make, and to, if I can amend that motion to also include our town council, Bryce Smith, and town zoning and planning officer, to involve them in that executive session, and the town administrator. So that was your motion, right?
Of course.
Yes. Great. So,
Wait,
I'm sorry, I'm not there, so I don't see the various moving parts.
he's quiet, so the owl never goes in his direction.
Everything's good.
You all set? Good. Go ahead, Larissa.
All right, so we're ready?
Yeah.
And are we recording?
Yes.
Yes, we are. Okay, great. So I would move that we approve the proposed settlement agreement as amended in discussion during executive session, and also authorize York Haverkamp to sign that agreement on behalf of the town.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
No? Great, it's unanimous. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Brian.
Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Sorry about that, it took a little bit longer. Oh, thanks, JB.
Am I good?
Thanks, yeah.
Yes. Sandy, you're up for the audit report presentation by our,
So I'm Sandy.
Hey, Dave, have a client.
Welcome.
Nice to meet you. Hey, Zane.
Hi.
you find them?
No.
I'm really sorry, Sandy. If it was my fault, I don't know where I would have put them.
Who got it?
You know, in previous years, I've handed them out, and at the end of my spiel, they hand them right back.
I think I've always found it's better not to hand it out until you're done talking anyhow.
There
so
you
we can
go.
get it after the
And it
fact.
should be on
And I
the-
do have one copy.
And, yeah, and I have, it should be on the website. I've been trying to
I
find.
believe it's in the packet.
It is in the packet.
It is, no,
No,
just,
not-
I believe
Oh,
so.
no, just
there's the two
just the
letters.
The letter.
Yeah.
There's
Not-
two letters, but the whole audit wasn't
Right.
in the, this is the whole
Oh,
audit.
okay.
Yeah, sorry, but I can definitely, I can definitely summarize it for you. As you probably know, audit is very important to me. I work hard to keep us on the straight and narrow financially. And the audit report, by Sullivan Powers, who've done it for quite a few years, was late this year, but it is here now, and it's an unqualified opinion, which is the 6th year that we've had this, and it's a goal that we've tried because previous years, not so much. I mean, well, just 1 year was good, but I'm just going to say that their audits are not easy to read, and when I say unqualified opinion, you go through this whole thing, there's only one sentence that would even give you a clue to that it's an unqualified position. I'm gonna read it to you just so you know what it says. I get excited, but it's hard to read. In our opinion, the Sullivan and Powers, the financial statements reported by the town of Waitsfield present fairly all material respects and respective modified cash basis financial position of the governmental activities and the business type activities, each major fund and the aggregate remaining fund information of the town of Waitsfield as of June 30, 2024. That means we give them our financial statements and they audit it, but the financial statements are ours. So to start with, I have a lot of notations on what exhibit I'm talking about and what page it's on, but, anyways, we'll just go through it. And I pretty much will read it because it's people out there, of course, you don't have it, I don't have it, but I have it, but you're not looking at it. But the statement of net position tells us how we are financially. And the town's government-wide modified cash basis, we're on modified cash basis, by the way, we don't do accrual, increased by $446,000 during the fiscal year from $3.2 million to $3.6 million. This sum is the increase of $410,000 for governmental activities and an increase of $36,000 for business type activities. The net position may serve over time to be a useful indicator of the government's financial position. So I've told you that we're increases, so increases are good in financial positions.
And Sandy, when you refer to business expenses, we're talking about the Wade House and the water system?
Yes. Yay! Yes. Okay. So it's a useful indicator of the financial position. In the case of the town of Waitsfield, assets exceeded liabilities and deferred inflows of resources by $3.2 million. So that's, that's good, we have more than we owe at the close of the year in the modified cash basis of accounting. Our unassigned fund balance, which is where we live, increased by $470,000 during the fiscal year, from $640,000 last year to $1.1 million and change. The fund balance policy sets a goal of an unassigned fund balance equal to 2 months' expenditures. That's 17% of our budget, which is about $468,000. We'd like to keep that for a rainy day, and that's our policy. The towns, and we're way over it, as we're talking here. The town business type activities, the water fund and Way House, their net position increased by 36,000 in the fiscal year, from 418,000 to 554,000. The water fund's net position increased to 418,000. That's great. You have a water system that has cash. While the Waite House fund increased by 36,000. It's hard to believe, but it's
36,000
increased, yeah.
to 36,000.
No, increased to 36,000, yeah, right. In addition to the 7 major governmental funds, we have 7 major, the auditors figured this out. We also have 20 non-major governmental funds. I know you've heard me say our financial structure is quite complicated, and information on the governmental funds are presented in multiple exhibits in our audit. You can see where the reserves are, but we put a lot of that information in the town report, so it's really not really necessary for you to be reading it, unless you like these sort of things. The general fund budgetary highlights. This is where I just tell you, if I have to say what happened in the general fund, which is used to record all our resource inflows and outflows that are not associated with these special purpose funds. The activities being paid through the general fund constitute the core administration and operational tasks of the town, and the residents adopt the annual budget for its general fund into the March town meeting. And this also includes our capital and one-time budgets as well. And there's budgetary comparisons in this report, but you also have gotten that information. We call it a budget status report that we give you quarterly, and I give the town administrator monthly.
Which Steve presented at our last meeting.
Yes. The fiscal year 2024, the fund balance, the general fund had 400 of excess cash and over cash disbursements. In other words, it's a surplus of 470,000. Total receipts were 210 over the budget, and the majority of the excess revenue was a result of the Select Board's decision to transfer 180 from the American Rescue Plan funds to the general fund. Other revenues that were higher than anticipated were interest income. I mean, wow, it's been really great. We'll see how long that lasts. And also current use expenses were up. Not use receipts were up, not expenses. Total disbursements were 260 less than we budgeted. Town office operations were 22,000 less than anticipated. The town administrator expense was low due to the vacancy in that position. Overall, the road department expenditures were $62,000 unbudgeted due to staff vacancies and lower than anticipated material purchases. Employee benefits were $52,000 less than budgeted. Now, that's an area which is, if you've got vacancies, and also when we health insurance, when we budget for that, because we just don't know, especially when you have vacancies, you don't know if you're going to have a family plan or a single plan, or somebody's going to take the buyout. So often we budget a little bit to be safe, and that sometimes causes us to have a less than budgeted employee benefits. Other unspent areas was a paving project for $65,000 that we had in the budget, and a town garage improvements for $15,000 for some kind of a study.
Yeah, for a town garage.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that was a practice that we would put single short-term projects as a capital
Yeah.
expense, and probably not the best. That does allow us to carry that money forward. If we put it into our operating budget, we wouldn't be able to carry it forward, correct?
Right.
So that's something to think about.
Right. But it's hard to ask people for money you don't spend.
Yes.
The water fund ended the year with a net position of $418,000, which was $35,000 higher than the balance of the previous year. User fees were $5,000 higher than budgeted, which, we have a pretty steady usage and fees. Interest income was $10,000 higher than budgeted, and the water fund has over $400,000 in reserve funds invested in CDs and savings accounts, and Robin Morse has been very careful with that. And believe me, towns and cities should be putting money away, because when those pipes need to be replaced, it's nice to have the money. Hasn't been done much in the last century, so it's a really good thing to have. It's not just they're just amassing money that they don't need. For debt, the total debt at the end of the year for governmental activities and the water fund was $3,007,000, which is $211,000 lower than the previous year. The town borrowed $37,000 in FY 2024 for the new community wastewater system, which is 9.25% forgivable. So the ending principal balance on the new loan is $8,041. It's all very complicated, but yeah, it's good. So that's pretty much my report on the audit report, and I'll let you have questions in a minute. There are two. These are what you did get in the packet. There's two letters. They look amazingly the same.
They really do.
And we couldn't even but one of them, it means a lot more. This is more just Can telling you what they did and all that. And it's to the select board, so it's for you. The other one is also for the select board, and it is what they call findings or deficiencies in internal control. I don't like that, but I have to live with it. And believe me, I'm happy to have what we have here, given what we have.
Is that what I always called the management letter?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. To you, it's for you to tell us what to do, because they're telling us we need to do something better. Basically, and we have three. The first one is reconciliation of bank statements. They didn't feel that over the year we were reconciling to the general ledger properly, and we weren't. And some of it is the checks and balances and new treasurer and and no town administrator. It's two people have to look at that each, and of course we have many accounts, have to look at all the bank recs, the person that does it and then the person who reviews it. And so they want to be sure that we do that in the new year. And this is the new year, and it's 3/4 full. And it's okay for the treasurer to do the bank's reconciliation, and it's okay for me to do the review. So that's how this year we're going to meet this recommendation. And by the way, if you have to really pay attention to this, because next year, if you don't do it, they're going to be a little bit harsher. And
Is there somebody who is learning or who already knows how to do the review process, or do we need to start succession planning? Since I'm saying that the bank reconciliation is difficult, and what's difficult is tying it to the bank and then to the general ledger, because the general ledger is where our financial statements are given out, and if they don't balance to cash, they're worthless. But believe me, it's not been off a lot, but it needs to be researched. But yes, there is a procedure, and there's a worksheet that says this is the balances of all of our accounts. It lists them. It says if it's been reconciled to that, and the person reviewing it will get the list of reconciliations and match
what's on that piece of paper to what the bank has. And also, we need to be sure, when we do that that it balances with the general ledger. It's a thing.
Okay, sorry, I think the crux of what I was getting at is
But
that I know that
we would love.
agreement with you
No,
is
wait.
ending at a certain point. If you've been
But,
doing
Larissa-
it, I want to make sure somebody else knows how to do it.
Well, we had a select board member for many years do it, Larissa. Uh-huh.
So when
Okay.
you leave, can Jen do it as the assistant treasurer?
She
or that's-
doesn't like to,
Okay, that's what I.
because she signs the checks
That's what I
right
thought.
now,
Yeah.
and she shouldn't be touching that bank rec.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
It seems like we had volunteers at one point.
Oh, it
Jim
was
Layton
Daryl,
Oh, Daryl.
Yeah.
and he would go.
He loved it.
What really needs to be done is we, if you can believe it, the bank still gives us copies of checks, and he would check to make that every single check was made out to, not to Sandy Gallup,
Yeah.
and that was his way of doing it, but basically, yeah, the more the person who's looking at it knows what they're looking for is good, but the treasurer who does the bank rec is really the most important piece. The other should just be
Yeah.
a review.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's that.
But I agree, Larissa, that we'll have to have a plan starting July 1st.
Yes,
Yep.
yes. The second one is authorization of general journal entries, and general journal entries are often when we make corrections in coding or corrections in, we did the last journal entry the wrong way. It's really cleaning things up, and it's also when we transfer from funds to funds, which we have 25 funds, and you have to transfer money all over. You need to have somebody do it, which is usually the treasurer, and then somebody sign off that it's appropriate. And the town administrator has been that person, but we haven't had a town administrator. So this really fell down because we didn't have warm bodies. We didn't have a treasurer, we didn't have a town administrator, and it was really hard,
We know.
Yeah, but I know you do. So I have no fear that we can clean this up, and so there's that. The last one came in at the very end, and I was really pushing to get the audit draft into final, and they dropped this. The final one in is that cemetery perpetual care funds, which I know very little about. The town has a cemetery fund that holds cash and investments. That's the trustees, I believe. And the town has sold cemetery lots, but has not broken out the non-spendable portion of the fund balance for perpetual care funds. And they recommend that we do that. Now, the trustees have been talking directly to the auditors. Robert Cook is the person that's been doing it. I haven't gotten in the middle because I can't help in the middle because those two just, So, and unfortunately Bob didn't know about this because it happened so late. But maybe they do have records, but I have been told that when Jack Smith passed, they lost a lot of records. And so I don't know what they have, but we're gonna find out.
And when we met with the cemetery commission, not the trustees, about their need for town support, they talked about perpetual care. I'm not sure that is it a trustee's responsibility? Or
The
is it-
trustees, when they get perpetual care funds, they write a check to the trustees. Now, if that happened 20 years ago, do we know? I don't, who has the perpetual care funds and how much? I really don't know, and I'm sorry that and I don't mean to just blow it up for Bob, but maybe he knows, but I certainly don't know, and I'm not that worried about it, but it does sound like something that we could at least try to do the best we can with, right? But it's the trustees, not the commission, that holds those records. Any other questions?
I guess just to cut to the chase, it's a pretty clean audit. and we're in good financial shape.
This is like, when I got these findings, I'm like, I can do that, we can do this. I mean, it was a hard year, you
Yeah.
know, it really was. So, yeah, I'm very pleased.
Sandy.
I'm pleased with.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, I've
Yeah.
spent a lot of time this summer to get this far, and Sullivan Power's been great. I mean, they really have been very understanding, and they worked a lot of extra hours trying to figure stuff out, that, you know, was a little hard to understand, but we got through it, so.
That's awesome.
Thank you
Yeah.
ever so much.
Yeah.
Thank you ever so much.
One brief comment
Yeah.
and, I don't know if clarification is the right word, but just for the wastewater, when you were talking about the debt and the wastewater loan, that's confusing, and I just wanted to clarify, we've been careful to say to our taxpayers that the work done on wastewater to date has all been covered through grants, and that is still true. That loan is
Oh, yeah,
it's a forgivable loan
Yeah.
at 0 interest.
yes,
There is a portion that one of the grants was capped at a certain dollar amount. The cost of engineering was a little more than that, and we made a motion like over a year ago that we would cover that excess, which was small, with ARPA money.
okay, yeah.
We've since moved the ARPA money into the unassigned fund balance, but that money is still
Yeah,
there to pay
there.
that little stub.
Well, that's
amount.
good to know. I mean, that the ARPA money that is moved into where it moved into, is something that we need to, you know, keep track of.
Yeah.
And the wastewater, owes the general fund about $487,000.
Yeah.
We have requisitioned 358, and we really hope, that JB says that money's, you know, in the mail.
Well,
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
good enough for me. I'm not here enough to know whether that's true or not, but, so. If anybody wants a copy of the audit report, let me know. It will be up on, I'm looking for the digital copy and couldn't find it. I was downstairs looking for it. It goes up on the website,
Yeah.
so. It's
okay.
just, I don't.
Do I
think-
have a copy of that?
I can't find it. You know, I'm not here enough to, when things come in, to know where they get.
But they did or will give us a half dozen copies or so, right?
I think they are in the building somewhere. Yeah, but I will offer them to you, and you guys can, you know, take them home
Yep.
and review.
Awesome.
Okay?
Thank you, Sandy.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks, Sandy.
You're welcome.
So we'll move on to the Mad River Pass update. Bisha, you want to come up to the table? And we are, I am going to try to pick up the pace a little bit. Our executive session went a little longer than I thought. And you have a,
Show and tell?
yes.
Right. So my first part of what I'd like to do is, remember we had conversation about the e-bikes for the Wade House. So this is the first of 3 bikes. They're all gonna be different because it's a demonstration project. But the question for select board was, can we store bikes in the connector space? And just wanted you to see what we're talking about. And then there's a question about charging. So this is what the charger is like for the e-bike. It's a trickle charger, works on regular 110, just requires regular plugs into the bike. The connector space actually is wired, it has lights, so they're light switch, so it doesn't require any wiring, it just requires installing a plug next to the light switch. So that is the ask. Can the collaborative project between the PATH, the planning district, and the Friends of the Mad River, can we have store bikes that employees use during the day? So
How will they be made accessible to the general public in some way?
that I think will be up to each organization how they're going to use it. I would say it's a good opportunity to do demonstrations. So, like say you say, I want to see how it works for me. And you take it for the weekend and use it. That could be a great opportunity. I'd like to see that happen, Brian.
It's wicked awesome.
I wonder if there are any questions about this project before we move forward.
So the grant that was for this project, wasn't that one of the ones that the governor, wasn't it a state funded grant that was canceled, or I might be misremembering?
Not that I know of, Larissa. We have the.
Okay, I really hope not.
We
I
have
just,
the,
yeah, making sure.
signed the grant and got a go-ahead from Agency of Transportation to expend on it, and we're doing it.
Great.
I'd heard the same thing, so.
We were actually talking about this today in the Climate Council meeting. The state has canceled its EV charging station project that's going to go along the state because federal government has canceled that funding.
Yep.
So some of the states are continuing to do it, waiting to see how everything shakes out. But for right now, our governor VTrans canceled the project here in Vermont,
That's probably what
waiting on the funding issue.
Well, Misha, did the grant include the installation of the outlet?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not asking town to pay for any of that. We would.
How much was it to install the outlet?
I don't recall from top of my head.
Okay.
It's a simple 110
Yeah,
outlet.
just a regular outlet.
I was under the
Outdoor.
impression it was like a 220 charging station, but.
And a special line had to be run from the,
No line, no, it draws, it's a trickle charger. It uses very, very little power.
So it would be on the wall of the White House
Yeah,
where the switch is.
on the,
So-
But can't you pop that battery out and bring it inside and charge it in any outlet?
yeah, you can do that, absolutely. It's just an extra step that is slightly inconvenient, and it's a good thing to do in the winter time when it's cold, but this, this is just another step. I'm gonna show you how it's done. So it can be absolutely brought inside, and if you don't want the outlet on the wall, that would be the solution.
Can the outlet come from the switch that's there?
Yeah,
Like it can just,
it can just
I
come
mean,
from
the
the
switch isn't
switch.
pulling that much power.
Minimum amount of work.
It seems like we're charging rent for that space, which is another topic of discussion, and providing, access for that, or for power tools, or for any other kind of, drop light or whatever you might need. If the grant's gonna pay for it, it just benefits the building. Am I missing something?
the only argument was that connector space may not always be there.
I understand
But it's
that.
there now.
And
Yeah,
if the
but-
connector space is gone, the building's still gonna be there, so an external outlet would still be
The original, yeah,
useful. Yeah,
I have no problem.
yeah.
The original, we originally understood there's gonna be a special line
That's what I thought.
put in, and, that was, seemed like an awful waste if it was gonna be torn
Yeah.
out at a future date, but if it's just an outlet, 110 outlet,
Yeah,
that's
The
it.
only benefit to charging it indoors is you need to keep an eye on the charging. And you don't want it plugged in for longer than it needs to be. Once it's charged, you unplug it. Leaving it plugged in is where you run into trouble with a battery, with those lithium batteries.
Thank you for this, Alice.
we're moving all our power outdoor yard tools to electric and have a ton of those now. It's not a big deal from a management perspective. But I think wintertime, we will have trouble charging it outside.
It's not just the charging in the winter. These are owned, right? These are gonna be owned by MRP?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
so my understanding is that any high-end bike with especially electronic components does a lot better, long-term, being in a temperature-controlled space, so have to kind of consider that.
Yeah, the batteries will go inside for the winter, for sure. We can
And
also-
plus, wouldn't it be less likely that the bikes will be stolen if it doesn't have the battery? If the battery is in a secure place indoors?
Yeah, bikes have they have built-in locks,
Okay.
and they,
But if somebody does pick the lock and pedal away, they're gonna go a lot slower without the battery.
sure. So I'm sure both ways would be good. If you're running in for lunch in between your appointments, it's a lot more convenient to plug it in. And if you're leaving I'm sure everybody will manage it. It's good to have outlet there, like you said, for power tools, for charging batteries to our electric weed whacker. It will get used. If it's there, if it's not a big deal. Let's say we have a lot.
So I imagine that was kind of a wonderful, but an aside to the path update though, Misha. I think was there other information presumably
Yes.
that you had? Okay.
Ready to go?
I'm going to invite us to move on.
Real quick, any idea what it costs?
If I may, I just
Hold
wanted
on,
to make
hold on.
one comment.
Fred, you were asking a question?
Yeah, any idea what the cost is
Oh,
to charge it and run it?
To charge it?
Yeah.
Um,
On a weekly basis or monthly basis or something?
I don't know this, but we can find out. We
Because-
can calculate. We can calculate based on how many watts is the battery. Let me do that.
I'm curious, I'm curious.
Thank you. But
Because
that's a good
ultimately, the tenants are gonna be paying for this.
That's gonna be de minimis, just given the size of the battery.
It does look
There's
small.
3 of them.
Yeah, and if in a year we find that our electricity bill jumped 50%, we need to, we'll
Mhm.
likely consider the rents,
Mhm.
what the carrying costs are, so.
Exactly.
Do you want to
A
have
motion?
a motion for that?
Does anybody, it seems to be no objection, is there a motion to authorize, I guess, with the oversight from the White House Commission, the installation of a 110 outlet on the exterior wall of the White House, that side of the connector space? A motion to that effect?
Make that motion.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
I,
And
Hi.
I'm sorry, Anne Marie, we had two conversations going. Do you still have a comment?
No, I just wanted to speak to, Fred and what he said of our original understanding. And I see if we installed an outlet on the building, in the connector space, if we, in the future, turned it into an entranceway, we could always utilize that outlet. It's not a problem.
thank
Okay,
you, Misha.
go
This is
ahead.
cool.
Great. Thank you for taking time for that. We will. There's a lot I can talk about, and I realize that your time is limited and you're tired. So I'm going to talk about what's most important right now, which is about where we are at with the development of the active transportation corridor. And last week we had our second of 3 public meetings. It was here at Waitsfield Elementary School, and you were there. So this is going to be a repeat for you. But I think it's really important for the select board to know, and I will go quickly. And only focus on what is most important. And York, would you use a computer?
Oh, here you go.
Oh, great. Oh, thank you. Which one? How?
There's a little dial that you can just move down.
Move down. Down.
Don't push it. Like let's see. See, I'm just spinning it.
Yes. Okay, let me look at this. And I'm spinning it now. No kidding.
Oh, you have to be over the screen.
Oh, over on this screen?
Yeah, there you go, now try.
Okay, great. So, the most important takeaway here at the first slide is that the Middlesex Select Board approved including active transportation corridor in the Middlesex. And now northern terminus is now going to be at Camp Mead Red Hen Bakery. So we have Middlesex on board as a fifth community. That's really exciting.
That's really exciting.
Okay, I'm gonna just move along to things that I believe are important for me to update you on. Pictures didn't come through?
I'm on the website. I just clicked the link and this is the website, so I don't.
I am looking at it too with pictures. Oh well, whatever. You guys know what I look like. It's been really fun to do this work and having Sam and Josh to cooperate with, and all through the fall and the winter we've been going out in the field and measuring between the between the utility poles and measuring the width of shoulders and taking GPS coordinates and meeting with so many different landowners and feeding this information to VHB. And based on that information, we have created what are called 3 alternatives. You probably have seen this. We probably need to reload this because this is not going to work very well for us. There is an illustration about it, but you cannot see it, it's too small. I will encourage you to go to the site, it's just how it's showing on the screen. It's really signage along Route 100 that say there is a path, but there is no path. That's the V-Trans parameters.
Basically the shoulder of the
Exactly.
existing.
Alternative 1, nothing happens. Alternative 2, shoulder gets widened. And I would love for you to take a time to go to the site and look at this, because we created those models to scale, showing what does it look like when you have a child on a bike and nothing happens, what it looks like. You have a child on the bike and there's just a little wider shoulder, and what it looks like when there's alternative 3, which is a shared use path. Okay, for each of these 3 alternatives, are we going to be able to? Nice. Okay. For each of these 3 alternatives, we presented them up against the 4 sections of the path. This is the first segment, Warren Village to Munfield. So this map just goes a little bit into Waitsfield. Yeah? So if you look here, we're starting at Warren School. We are avoiding very difficult section along the river by going on Allen Lane. We're staying on the west side of Route 100 to Riverside Park. We're following Kingsbury Greenway. We're crossing the bridge and coming onto the Cloudwater Farm, crossing the road, coming onto Yestermorrow, back to the shoulder of 100 to Bundy Road, and then we have a Bundy Road connector, and through Medbush property, we end up on Ralston Road, a little bit down Ralston Road, and then we're on the east side of 100 all the way to Munfield. That was segment 1. Segment 2 is Munfield to Waitsfield Village. we would here's our proposal, is to co-locate with the wastewater and follow all along on the east side with the wastewater project to Austin Path, follow Austin Path, build a new pedestrian and bike bridge across the Millbrook parallel and right next to the road bridge, and continue on the east side with the wastewater until we reach the sidewalk in Irisville and then cross to the sidewalk. On the north side of the village, we would follow the Waits Way, and then we would stay on the east side of the road into section 3. Segment 3, rather. Segment 3, we would stay on the east side of the road to Tremblay Road, follow Tremblay Road to Spalding Greenway, follow Spalding Greenway, and then utilize North Road to Meadow Road, and then follow on the west side of Vermont 100 to spur to Harwood. And the final segment 4, here's the spur to Harwood, and there's the path continuing to Middlesex Village, and I won't go into details of that in the interest of time. This is probably the most important thing to communicate to you, because under the normal funding flow scenarios, we have 2 grant cycles. We have transportation alternatives, which is a December application grant cycle, and we have bike and pedestrian program with the May applications cycle. At first, we thought that we're going to just wait till December for our first application, because we will not complete study till sometime in the summer. However, because of the unique opportunity to co-locate with the wastewater project and the timing of this, our engineers at VHB are suggesting that they will focus on this section and produce everything we need to co-locate with the wastewater, and we already had a meeting with Du Bois and King and all sorts of meetings to move this forward. And if we apply in May for this funding, for bike and pedestrian funding for this 0.9 mile co-location, we have an opportunity to catch up in time with the wastewater project, provided that V-Trans will modify the NEPA process. And I say modifies because wastewater corridor is slightly by few feet narrower than the bike corridor, but it appears to be workable. And there's a great benefit, cost-saving benefit in co-locating these 2 projects. Okay, and this is why I thought it's important for me to bring it to you, because for us to submit this application, we will need for town to make its vote in its May meeting. And I want to make sure that I didn't just come and caught you unprepared for this. I want you to know where we are and what's happening. So with these 2 cycles, in theory, we could be doing close to a mile of path per cycle. So if the federal funding would not be canceled, if we still have those 2 programs, if we get on the roll and we have strong application, with an ideal scenario, we could connect Warren to Waitsfield within 5 years and have that path completed.
What's the total length for all the segments?
23 miles. Is this a 4-season project? 4-season road? Path? It will depend, of course, on the location. Within villages, of course, it needs to be plowed so people could walk. Outside of villages, there may be better places where it's better be groomed. And there are places where it could be co-located with snowmobile corridor. So that is a not easy answer to that.
So we've been coordinating with VAS?
Yes. working with the Ridge Runners.
Ridge Runners.
They're part of the commission. So we have advisory committee. So advisory committee at this point is 40 people. It's a really strong group of people. It's great, and they're representing all communities, and it's super helpful. Okay.
I'm just curious, Josh, I was talking to York today after your guys' wastewater meeting. You're planning on coming to the select board with an update, so we'll have a better idea of where things are from a funding standpoint at some point?
Planned in May,
Okay,
so that,
so at the time, we're just right to talk about whether this kind of coordination is reasonable and desirable. I will say that, I think we're a long way away from Middlesex to Warren, but I'm really surprised at how much pedestrian activity there is on Route 100 south of Irisville. I pull out of the Dugway, a couple of times a day sometimes, and almost always see somebody walk, well, not almost always, but frequently see people walking from the Eagles or going to LaRue or I don't know where they're going. So
walking along the Route 100.
yeah, and there's always been a desire to link LaRue swim hole to Irisville. So I don't know how feasible it is, but it's exciting.
I'd also like to say that I know that we've asked Misha in past meetings to make sure that he puts things on radar for us.
Yes.
And I just want to acknowledge that I appreciate the approach this go round. We have a heads up, we can educate ourselves, and that way when the application comes in May, we'll be well oriented. So thank you, Misha.
Thank you for that. And I will make sure you all have a link that you can take time with this. We have calculated distances in each town by road, path, and on Vermont 100, so you can see all of that. And we also, they were, because Friends of the Mid River are part of our committee, and not just because of that, but because it's important to think how we're going to be mitigating very real environmental impacts. Well, looking closer at it, we actually know something about it already. We know how to build this scenario, right, that you all know of, is a very typical scenario of what happens with 100 shoulder in many places. And no, we don't need to be filling more fill and expending huge amount of material. We know how to build hanging path and how to hang them off the side of the road. We also
Charlie Husford does.
Charlie does. Yeah, that's so true. We also know how to get through wetlands. These are examples. These are examples that we have here, and there's a lot of information there. I won't go any further. I would just finish by saying I look forward to coming to the May Select Board meeting and presenting a scenario for pass through Waitsfield, and we'll be asking for your vote on that. And by that time, together with you all outside of the meetings, we will start thinking about how we're gonna handle the funding, and there are many sources outside of the federal funding.
Misha, I have a question for you.
Yep.
If you have all these funding ideas in place and know where you're going to go ask for funding, why did you not answer my question Wednesday night when I asked you about funding? I asked you this specifically, and you told me that you had not approached funding yet, that was another phase.
Maybe I misunderstood your question, Alice. Right now, what we looked at right now is we looked at potential. I'll go back to this slide.
I specifically asked what funding paths you were looking at, and you just told that to the select board, but would not answer my questions Wednesday night.
Well, all of this was.
It behooves you to stay in touch, because this project right now is managed for you by CVRPC. And it's the CVRPC TAC, Transportation Advisory Committee, that's following transportation funding for the coming year. And we know that the governor has cut the transportation funding. And he has not cut it in the area of infrastructure and safety, or as it's known, design and engineer. But he has cut funding in the bike and pedestrian area of his budget request. So if you're looking for this particular funding and project, it has to be in the governor's budget now. It has to be a line item in there for him to pass this.
Well, let's not get into those weeds tonight. If we can get more, maybe that's an issue that we will want to have addressed
Yeah,
when you come back.
absolutely.
We definitely will want to know what you're applying for, how much,
Of course.
what the obligations would be for the town, whether there would be any town, expectation of a town match, all of those things. Let's not settle them tonight, given the time.
Of course.
Alice, for you, I have a related question. I've heard different things about the Route 17 100 intersection study.
Yes, that one I know about.
Can you, because this might have a direct bearing on the Route 100 intersection, which is supposed to be
Right.
looking at, stormwater, traffic safety, and pedestrian safety, bike and ped safety.
Yeah, well, right now we know. I worked with Mike Hedges, who's the Waterbury representative. He used to work for V-Trans, and he helped me navigate through these itemized items that the governor did submit in his V-Trans plan, and that project is in there. So if the budget, transportation budget, is passed the way it is now, the Route 117 project is in the budget for the coming year. It also has been assigned a project manager, that's Pam Moulton, I believe her name is. So that project's in there, that's in there for funding for the coming year. What you're dealing with now is waiting for the legislature and the governor to iron out all of the details, and for them to pass the budget, and for him to sign the full budget. The other thing that's happening is the shock of, and this was just a big topic in Climate Action Plan today, we're finding out day by day the funding that is being canceled by the federal government, to the point where it's becoming obvious to department directors and legislators that they may have to take a hard look at what gets funded and what doesn't. I mean, $7 million out of the Vermont Public Health Department was just cut. And that's all of the immunization program in Vermont and all of the social services and mental health services.
So we will, we're not going to answer that. I do want to make sure that we coordinate with the 117 intersection study. My experience has been the transportation budget is usually a good deal passed ahead of the general fund budget. So that there's still another 6 or 7 weeks before you're going to be back with any more detailed information. That budget will probably be passed by then, and we'll figure out whether the legislature wanted to put more money into bike ped programs at that point, but we just don't know now.
Yeah, the next piece of the 117 is the scoping study.
Yes.
It's not a shovel in the ground.
Yeah.
And that could take 5 years for it to finally be ready for on the ground.
For 5 years for construction, not 5 years for the scoping study.
No, I'm sorry, 5 years for construction.
Yeah, okay.
Do you guys have any other questions for me?
No, that was great.
I was just curious, how's the association doing? I mean, you guys, you seem to be very busy, doing a lot of...
We're doing great. Please come to the triathlon on 13th of this month, participate or volunteer. We're doing great. We're working together with all other organizations, and we're growing.
Great.
Thank you for asking.
Nice to meet you.
So, moving on, we'll do the General Wade House upcoming repairs and maintenance. Unless I'm missing something, this should go pretty quickly. Fred or Anne Marie, you want to go through really briefly what the proposal? Oh, geez, I missed that?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry.
On the agenda is the paving.
Yes, no, you're right, sorry.
Yes.
So, for background, we signed an agreement with Pike Industries to repave Bridge Street, to widen Bridge Street for pedestrian safety, and to repave East Warren Road all the way to the Warren Town line. Charlie Goodman talked with the folks from Pike to see if there was some cost benefits of them being in town with such a large project to also do the slow road. They gave us a proposal for $29,000. Arguably, that might or might not include another $5,200 because there's a mobilization fee in this.
It does.
So it's really for $35,000.
But I will add, just since.
Yeah, go ahead.
That if Man River Road, is that what it's called?
Yes.
If they agree to pave that, that will split that in two, and they would pay for half of that mobilization.
Okay.
If they agree to pave it.
So that's an extra mobilization for them. And that wasn't, they have to move down to Irisville.
Right, that's right, yeah.
So we just, and also their revised proposal lowered the cost of the East Warren Road proposal from what their initial proposal was. And we had in our capital budget paving the slow road for $205,000, and we're getting it done possibly for $35,000.
Well, yeah, was it that much? Yeah, it was a lot, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So the total is 648, 174.10.
which will be for everything, for the Bridge Street widening and reconstruction, East Warren Road and Slow Road. Any questions? It's really a good deal.
Oh, and
You
I'll
don't often
say,
see the price come down.
No, we haven't for several years.
I know no one's ever seen Charlie Goodman excited, but yeah, he was excited. And I did talk to Charlie about after our conversation, Brian, and it's hard to imagine that this will be done by July 1st. In which case, totally to your point, in which case there will be enough funds.
Yeah, I talked to him at the site visit about that too. There's a little concern about, we're putting a couple $100,000 in the paving reserve hopefully to fund this, and that won't be put into the reserve until July 1. But we'll be able to move those shells around.
Related question, I think on this project, we had I believe we've already qualified for a state grant. Right?
Yes,
180.
175, 180.
I just want to make sure, just given the gap in the town administrator and all that, we're doing whatever we need to do to make sure we stay qualified and collect those funds.
Yeah, that's probably a good recommendation, because I don't know. I didn't hear about that until today, actually.
We got the grant award, and it's allocated to us, but you're right, we ought to,
There's a timeline
it's time to start
process.
Yeah,
making
most
sure
of the
that
work
we're
will
doing
after,
what we
will
need
be
to.
after, but yeah, I'm sure that you're completely right. I'll do it tomorrow.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks,
Yeah.
you're 100% right. I mean, it's not much different from the RRFB that I luckily looked at and we would have not gotten that.
Yeah, yeah.
Any questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve the amended bid?
Yes. I'll make that.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Great.
It's awesome. It's like 200 grand less than.
It was literally.
And is Fred, you wanted to ask about the letter to Cross Point. Is there,
Yes.
you want to raise that now, or can it wait until?
Whenever you desire.
Okay,
I'd just like to make sure that we do action it.
okay, all right. So let's move on to item 7. And Marie, you have 2 requests for the General Weight House Commission has 2 requests for funding in addition to the possible 3rd request. Do you want me to keep talking? Or
Well, I just wanted to extend my gratitude to York for putting together the RFP for the roofing project. As you can see, it's still open until April 14th, and up until just a few days ago, I had completely forgotten that we had put together that 9-minute video of the General Weight House, including a drone footage of the roof. And the drone footage would probably be very useful for the contractors. So I did forward one video to York, but I've got several other videos of the roof where the drone goes really quite close. So,
Yeah, and we agree that if
did you get that video?
Yeah. And if anyone reaches out, a contractor, I will share that with contractors if they want more information.
Terrific. Great, thank you. So the first request is for an additional $700. The select board had approved $1,000 for an accessible ramp. And I'm, representing the commission to increase it to $700 so that we can incorporate a accessible parking space that would be in front of the building.
For clarity, really quickly, is that you're requesting an additional 700 on top of the approved 1,000, so 1,700 total?
Right.
Okay, just making sure.
Yes,
I'm not
yes,
certain that
exactly.
we approved
Thank you
it.
for that question.
Yeah, 1,000 was approved last meeting.
We did? I thought it was,
Yes, the 1,000 was already approved, is my understanding,
I thought it was
at a
tabled.
previous,
I thought it was tabled.
No?
We can check our minutes, that's what I'm doing right now. But I think we tabled it based,
okay.
I think we tabled it based on, we wanted to make sure that an earthen ramp would be ADA
Oh.
compliant. I don't think we
Okay.
approved it.
Okay,
I was to get back.
all right, well,
I was-
And we know it is.
I can address the ADA part. So the ADA requires a 1-in-20 slope, maximum slope that would not require handrails, guardrails. So what does that mean? That means for every 1 foot, 20 feet of ramp is required. So I did the calculation, we've got maximum 8-inch step there. So what do we need?
The question, Anne Marie, was, could it be an earthen ramp versus a metal or wood structure?
Well, it can, with regard to earthen, it can be pea gravel.
Okay,
But what we're doing is better than that.
stay mat.
This proposal is stay mat.
Yeah. Okay, that answered the question that we had from our last meeting.
Well, let's just make sure
Okay.
that this motion will allocate a total of 1,700.
Check.
That'll cover ourselves.
Yes, yes, precisely.
Yeah. So, okay, so for 8-inch height, we only need 13 feet, 4 inches in length. And as you all know, we've got at least
Yeah, good.
13 feet out there. It should be no problem being able to achieve the required slope, and then with stay mat, and then the parking space will be stay mat. So the parking space will be stay mat, and then stay mat connected to the walkway so that a person who is a wheelchair user could get out of their car and get on a solid, flat surface,
Yeah.
and then gradually go up the ramp.
Do we,
And we can do this for $1,700 total.
Need a motion?
Yes, one motion.
I would make a motion that we appropriate a total sum of $1,700 for the ADA accessible ramp.
Second,
Um,
any questions?
Wonder if we.
Where's
we need
this
to
coming
add a
from?
parking spot, like the
Coming
ramp
from
and.
It's coming from the General Weight House Reserve Fund.
That's
And
correct.
that motion includes the parking connector to the ramp and entrance to the building.
Check.
Yep,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then we, as folks know, we're moving towards painting the building and putting a new roof on. I guess the White House Commission felt that there was a need for some clapboard repair prior to that happening. I think some of those needs are
Yes.
readily visible from Route 100.
Yes.
And you have a proposal from Richard Backus to do that work. Anything to add
Yes.
to that?
I would make a motion that we move $3,000 from the reserve fund to the general fund for the purpose of clapboard repairs.
Is there a second?
Yes. Second.
Any question, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Okay.
And then the lift service, the lift in the building currently does not work, right?
I can't get it working. Correct.
And it hasn't been inspected in decades, well, many years.
We have a proposal from
Otis.
who does the lift maintenance in this building.
Yeah, so they have multiple levels of service. We, in this building, have the lowest cost service agreement that they offer, and they sent the same service agreement for the
And
White
that's
House.
annual maintenance?
That's right.
And that would be, what is the price?
It's in the meeting packet. It's
It's-
2,500-ish or.
Yeah, $3,000.
That's for the annual maintenance, but that doesn't include, I think there's sort of a one-time get it up and running kind of
Yeah, so when I.
thing. Did I read that correctly?
Yeah, so when I talked to her on the phone, if the select board agrees to this annual contract, then they'll come out and then, give us a bid, a quote for what it will cost to get up and running.
Okay, so, I'm sorry, so initially they need 20.
So initially, they just need us to approve the agreement, the Otis agreement, which is what we have for this building right here.
Yeah.
And so that'll be like an annual contract, and that's 2,500-ish. And again, I don't wanna sidetrack myself.
That would be authorizing them to maintain a lift that doesn't work,
Right,
but then they would give us a proposal.
That's right.
It seems maybe,
I know, it's a little
Backwards.
strange, I
can
don't,
they give us
Is it gonna be
proposal?
contingent, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, contingent.
Contingent on us accepting their proposal for getting it up and running?
yeah, we can do that.
Yes.
I don't see a problem with that.
Otherwise, it's, let's hear
Because
it.
it may not be feasible.
Yeah.
And we have a contract with them for this building now? And there's no way to bundle it?
I'm gonna advocate for this, because I think I'm the last person that tried to use it, and I got stuck in it.
Oh, boy.
And it like
That is no good.
went up like half a floor, so Josh Schwartz and I had to jump down, and that really wasn't what I wanted to do, is needing an elevator.
Yikes.
Dave, you wanna make that motion?
Yeah, I would make that motion to have York provide or talk to Otis and try to have them reword their offer, or their offer to come out and look at it and give us a proposal, and we would sign a contract contingent on us accepting that bid. Kind of wordy, but there you go.
So essentially, we would be approving or authorizing York to sign this service and repair order
As long as
contingent upon
the order gets switched, yeah.
getting an acceptable quote for
But by-
the repair.
But we won't know whether that's acceptable in the select board's mind until we come back in 2 weeks and we
Yeah.
go over, or whenever they get me another.
Just trying to set it up so we don't have to revisit the service order, which I think they're
Okay.
into. So we approve this contingent upon the repair to get it up and running.
Well, that should be an incentive to them to repair the thing.
Yeah, give us a good quote.
Yeah.
Yeah, smart, that may be why they don't do that. That's a good idea.
Yeah, we just can't get stuck with a annual contract
Yeah.
with no working elevator.
Totally agree.
I would second that motion. Sorry, did I?
No, it's just that they may not wanna come out, and we may be obligating more money in the long term by doing this.
I think we're avoiding that by saying, yeah, we'll enter into this contract if we know how much it takes to fix
They're
it.
gonna charge us to do that assessment. They're not gonna come out here for
Can we
that.
pay for the assessment first?
Yeah.
Just get the assessment, we'll pay for the assessment.
Why don't we withdraw this motion and just ask York to reach out to Otis and tell him what this conversation, that we do want to get it going, we want it to be maintained on an annual basis, but we're reluctant to do that until we know what the cost of the
I mean, I kind
repair
of
is.
pressed a little bit, because I thought it was confusing, honestly, and she's like, this is when, it seemed confusing to me, but now that the select board has spoken, I feel comfortable going back and asking again.
Yeah, ask them how much a just straight site visit to inspect and assess, you know.
Well, I can also see if there's if it's the same person, you know, maybe, I don't know how often they check ours, is it just once a
I
year?
think it's annual.
Oh, that's a lot of money for them to look at an elevator once a year.
But it's a state requirement.
Can we find out when their next visit is?
Yeah, I
Stuff
think
like that.
It might be worth it. Okay.
Larissa, would you-
Well, and tort law is all full of fun stories about elevators, so, that sounds good to me. Yeah, I think that making sure that it is actually salvageable first would be good.
That's all I'm getting. I would be excited to have an annual maintenance plan for a working elevator.
Yes, as would I.
Okay, so that,
Yeah,
We're good
that's
with
smart,
that?
sounds great.
so we'll move on to General White House fundraising and management. When we were looking at these issues, talking to York about the agenda, we just thought that it would be a good idea to start with General White House Commission, just an update. I think it was over about a year and a couple months ago that we.
14 months.
14 months. And I'd say that we've made more progress on working on the White House and managing it than we have in the prior 14 years. Over the past 14 months, it has not been without some tensions, as change always has. But it's also been a pretty successful effort. So Fred, thank you for pushing that idea. I know
Can we just, for the record, and also since Dave wasn't part of the conversation initially, so the intention, could you specifically state, like, or tell me what the intention was of forming the General White House Commission? I know it was a course of action that involved expanding uses, but were there other explicit goals or vision, mission that was part of forming the commission?
Well, and I think it partly came out of the White House study group report, correct? It was a recommendation that Larissa, you authored, but I don't think the White House Commission was spelled out in that. I think
No, I just basically that there needed to be, the commission gave several examples of possible intermediary entities, and I just wanted to know what the ideal intermediary entity looked like when you guys decided to form this commission. Like, who's it made up of? Broad strokes.
Yeah, we authored some bylaws, and we can forward them to you.
That would be great.
Thank you.
Well, maybe.
The bylaws from the website.
They are? Oh, yay, awesome. I will look that up then. I will do my homework.
Or
Yeah, so we have a mission and yeah.
yeah,
But Fred, did you
I'm
wanna-
wondering if we can cover the ground that we need to cover tonight on this topic, or if we might want to do a little bit of preparation ahead of time. I see that Beth is here. I don't know that none of the other tenants are here. I'm especially looking at this roundtable discussion, review leases and storage space terms of use. I'm worried that this requires more time and attention than we might be able to give it tonight, given our other agenda items. I don't know how others feel.
I think we covered what was near term that we needed approval on. Is that right, Anne Marie?
And I think we could talk about the QR code thing as well.
That should hopefully be pretty quick.
Oh, the QR code thing.
Hold on a second, Anne Marie, are we okay punting on this?
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to move that?
On the, I want to make sure that if Beth has any time sensitive matters, that she has an opportunity to address them.
Exactly. Hi.
Hi, Beth.
Oh, no, it's been so awesome to see forward movement, and it feels really hopeful and exciting. And so I'm just so grateful for everyone for moving us forward. I had a concern. I think it'll be relatively easy to solve, but during the construction, particularly of the roof, there's going to be an impact on my ability to be able to provide mental health services, when they're pounded on the roof. So I don't have a solution to offer yet, but I'm hoping that I can have enough time to make a plan, and then because I'm going to need to work out of a different location. And then, so if you have ideas or about a location that I could use, hopefully it should be 2 weeks to do the roof or something like that. But we don't know, we don't know what's going to be encountered once the roof comes off. And so I just have, I'm having a little bit of anxiety about what I'm going to do about all my clients during that time. So I'm just putting out a request for some support in making a plan with enough time that I can, get that in motion and prepare everybody and myself in the room and all that kind of stuff.
And I'll just say.
And I think
No, go ahead.
so I was just going to say as a sort of bigger, sort of zoomed out view of this particular instance in which, Beth's work is being impacted by the much needed work done on the Waite House, I would love for the General Waite House Commission to, since they're hopefully going to be doing more improvements in the future, think out, what are the potential impacts of the construction being done? Like, what are the potential impacts on the tenants, and sort of ways to mitigate those effects? Because I feel like the tenants have been, I should say renters, I'm sorry. The renters have been partners in making sure that this space has survived this long. I feel like it could be a great opportunity for us to make sure that they're still able to do their work even as the building is being worked on.
Well, that's unavoidable.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't work on it and simultaneously not work on it.
That's not what I'm saying, Fred. I'm saying thinking about the impacts,
Understood.
being able to give due warning.
Understood. I read your emails, Beth, and I have asked the Masons in town, the Freemasons, if their lodge would be available to you, and they're in lodge tonight deciding the matter. I'm quite confident that they will grant free use of the dining room, which is the first floor of the Sonic Lodge for you. We don't know when the roof is going to be worked on. The RFP is still out. So you'll have ample notice of when it's going to happen. And as long as it just doesn't happen the same time that the International Boutique is happening, I see no reason why this won't work out for you.
Okay, I really appreciate that. That's relieves some of my concern and worry about how I'm going to work. So thank you. I appreciate that, Fred.
And I'll find out tomorrow what their decision was. I don't see any problem with it, but I'll get back to you.
I mean, that's really, I think we should do what we can to help, but we can't avoid working on the building, so thanks for doing that.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I promised Beth that as soon as we hear about like the RFP and what the select board decides to go through and we start moving dates, that she'll be the first to know.
Yeah,
And so this sounds like a perfect plan.
there'll be plenty of prior notice, plenty of.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So do you want to, we're gonna table A and C, and I suggest D, even though it's in the packet and we could probably get into it, I'd rather not wordsmith it tonight. But let's talk about the QR code.
And the bank account.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. Do you want to talk about it, Emery, or do you want me to just summarize? Thanks, Beth.
Yeah.
Oh, Mark, if you could, okay, bye-bye, Beth. You can go about if you could summarize it.
Well, essentially, Anne Marie and the commission would really like to have a bank account to raise funds. Well, not, let me rephrase that. They would like a way to raise funds because most people don't use checks. And so the way that you raise funds, the way you sell tickets to historical events, etc., is credit card. Right now, there is no means for that to happen. Steve,
Correct.
our trusted treasurer, Steve, really feels like the best way to move forward would be similar to the way the Joslin Memorial Library has an account. We believe that there's a way that the town can have oversight over this account, whether it's like I and Anne Marie or Fred, open account. The people that make the page on the town account for people to pay their taxes with credit card, they already agreed that they could make another page like that that would look the same. The QR code, the point of that is you could have a QR code up by the Historical Society and they could just scan it and it would go straight to that page. That page would then allow you to, donate money, $40,000 if you wanted to, and then that would automatically go into this account. The plus of that would be, the only other way it's done is Steve would just see credit card payments for like $35, $70, $40,000, and then he would have to know where it goes and then automatically every time move it into another account. By us making an account that's kind of like a Friends of the General Waite House account, broadly speaking, would alleviate some of that pressure on Steve.
There had been concerns about different kind of town body accounts and funds that aren't really subject to the audit or to oversight. And I guess I'd want to know what the mechanics of this would look like. I'm wondering if you could have Steve and you and Anne Marie get together and kind of come up with here's exactly how it would work for the next meeting.
Okay.
Is that possible? Does that sound, Larissa?
That does sound good. I think the other thing is that there's been a little bit of a conflation of the creation of a bank account with the credit card portion of this. Those are sort of two separate, related but separate things. And the payment processing portion that involves credit cards is sort of a separate consideration, but I don't know what the town uses already. But I also want to make sure that, for instance, the credit card processing fees are fees that can be paid by the people making the donations, for instance, and that it's not going to cost the town anything to, pay the processing fee. So I'd want to find out sort of what the payment processor, like who does the payment processing already, if we're going to be piggybacking off of them, and sort of what their fee structure is, and do they have a way to sort of allow donors to cover the processing fees, because that's a pretty common practice. And then looking at the bank account piece as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Oh,
Anne Marie,
how I see it is that we would have our own account, our own credit card, and that we would pay for the processing fees through
The credit,
through the General Waite House Reserve Funds, make it as easy as possible.
You're misunderstanding what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the fund or the General Waite House Commission having a credit card. I'm talking about, Joe Schmo going to the website, wanting to use their credit card to donate money that would then eventually be deposited into this account. The payment processing fees, we're talking about apples and oranges.
Yeah,
Saying who you're saying who pays
Totally
for
separate
this.
things.
Yeah, and I guess it would never be the town paying those, Larissa, it would be either a reduced donation, or they'd have the option, like almost any online donation does now, will you be willing to pay, instead of $100, $103.50 to cover the fee? That's
Right, which is a standard practice for doing, but it depends on the payment processor and what company are you using to do the payment processing. That was my
Yeah,
question.
and all the more reason for
Yeah.
kind of a more detailed proposal to come back.
That seems fair. I think I could talk to, I probably could look into VLCT first, or just the state
That would
and
be a
see
good idea.
what there is. And then, you know, Anne Marie, Steve, and then even talking to the bank, to make sure, and probably Sandy, that there is proper oversight. I personally would like it to be part of our network, so that when there is an audit, it's in the audit, unlike some other bank accounts.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a great recommendation, and I'm happy to work on that in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. Anything else on this?
No?
So board appointments. York did pass around a spreadsheet.
Yeah, and I'm sorry it's not in the meeting packet.
Yeah.
That was my oversight, and I apologize.
I do think we need to move forward. How to do it in the most efficient way. The most efficient way would be to approve this with amendments, but I think it would be better to go through board by board, or maybe just.
Is there an emailable version of this,
Yeah.
or was this in a previous email attachment? Do we know? Or I can just defer to you as forum. I don't need to follow along.
I do have some changes.
If I can interrupt, if we're finished with the general rate house,
Yes.
then I can take of leave. We've tabled the approval of the short-term event application, in other words, for
Yes.
the next meeting.
Yes,
And the round table, I think.
in the round.
And the round table, and the discussion of the leases and all of that for the next meeting.
Yep.
Okay.
And the Q.
All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for
Thanks, Anne Marie.
Thanks, Anne Marie.
what we do.
So there's
Thank
four,
you,
right?
bye-bye.
Yeah, nothing was resolved, everything was tabled for resolution.
Yes. Everything was tabled sounds better than nothing was resolved. But they're both factual.
It was March 11th, but I just forwarded it to you, Larissa. Hopefully you'll.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So how to best proceed?
You had a couple.
Well, yeah, so let me go through this really quickly. For the Mad River Valley Planning District, Planning Commission representative, Jonathan Erfstrom. For the Select Board representative, I have been serving this. Dave Babbitt has agreed to serve in that capacity. I would be glad to serve. We do allow for alternates now for the Planning District. I'd be glad to serve as that alternate.
Okay.
Constable Jeff Campbell, our other constable positions are vacant. Planning Commission, we have Anne Marie Harmon, Bob Cook, Emma Hanson, Alice Peel, Jonathan Erfstrom, and Beth Cook. Central Vermont Regional Planning Commission, this reflects a change. Don LaHaye has been our commission appointee. Alice Peel has been the alternate. This would change that. Alice would be the commissioner, and Don would be the alternate. And there are other committees that we don't appoint, but that are part of the CVRPC's kind of governance structure. I know Alice serves in other roles at the Regional Planning Commission. Also the Central Vermont CVRPC's Clean Water Advisory Committee. Alice Peel is our appointee to that and would continue. Development Review Board, no new members. We appoint Rudy Polwin, James Tabor, Duncan Bryans, John Donaldson, Steve McKenzie, and Chris Cook as the members.
Chris an alternate, or?
Chris is still a member.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I mean, that's what my notes say.
Tree Board, we have some vacancies that we might want to think about recruiting for, but Charlie Hosford and Vince Gothier have served in that and are continuing willing to serve.
I thought you were on that board also.
No,
No?
I might want to be someday, and I'm off something else. Fire Warden, Jared Young, Road Commissioner, Charlie Goodman, Emergency Management Director,
Is that, sorry, Road Commissioner Charlie Goodman the third?
Yeah,
Third, I went through that one.
it's right. It
The
took a
third.
while to figure it out, but it's right.
Okay.
because Charlie,
Sorry, just making sure. I know there are many Charles Goodmans.
so we met with the third tonight.
That's correct.
And the fourth is his son, who's the contractor.
That's correct.
Got it,
There
okay.
was some confusion.
No, it's good to clarify that. Emergency Management
I
Director,
lost track of the, sorry, go ahead.
Emergency Management Director, Fred Messer, Emergency Management Coordinator, Alice Peel and Claire Ireland. Energy,
That's an addition of one.
oh, okay,
EMC
that's
this year.
a new emergency coordinator would be
So-
Alice, because now it's only Claire.
It's clear,
That's
so
right.
Okay.
we have 2 EMCs now, which I'm
Great.
delighted.
Energy Coordinator, Chris Badger, Health Officer, Fred Messer, Animal Control Officer, Fred, oh, sorry, Bacon.
That was well done.
Conservation Commission, Bruno Grimaldi, Ted Jocelyn, Neil LaFerrier, James Donaldson, Phil Huffman, Chris Loomis, Bob Cook, Kurt Lindberg, and Gail O'Keefe. Mad River Valley Recreation District, Doug Bergstein and Mary Simmons. And Luke Foley is an at-large member. I don't remember whether that's appointed by the town or by the commission itself, but just acknowledge that if we need to appoint him, we're willing to. Luke will be,
He's also, I think, out of the country for a little bit.
he's in
I don't
Costa
know if he's
Rica
back.
until June.
Gotcha.
Water Commission, Bill Parker, Brian Shoup, and Peter Lazorchak. Robin Morris and Peter Reynolds are not willing to re-up for that position.
Oh, I knew that.
And the Water Commission will be a topic of a future conversation as far as the management of that utility and trying to reconstitute the Water Commission.
You said Peter was off?
Peter and Robin are both
Okay.
Peter Reynolds.
Reynolds, yeah, not, Peter Lazorchak is willing to.
Right.
Inspector of Lumber, Richard Backus, Fence Viewers, Alan Gaylord, and
Doug Kenyon.
so yeah, I'm just wondering what this Waitsfield appointed officer is going to
That
do.
was another page.
Okay,
And so it just.
So
stuck
Fence
together.
Viewers, Alan Gaylord, Doug Kenyon, and Brian Neal, Ware, Cole, Charlie Hosford, Green-Up Coordinator, Brick Skolberg, Mad River Solid Waste Alliance, Sal Spinoza, General Weight House Commission, Anne Marie Harmon, Gib Geiger, V. Lunch, Fred Messer, and Kathy Mehuron.
Kathy spelled wrong.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
good thing. And then the tenants appoint a rotating member. And then I believe this is under our consent agenda, the Regional Emergency Management Commission, Fred Messer and Howie McCausland. And that is something that's on the consent agenda to sign that document.
Yes.
So, how does that
I just
sound?
like to say one thing, this is not a Debbie Downer statement, but Don LaHaye, I've been talking with Don the past couple of weeks now, and he is a treasure trove of information. And this is also shows you why I'm saying stay in touch with the Regional TAC Committee, because of what they really do. And the Route 117 project was brought forward to the Regional TAC as a project to recommend to VTrans during one of their budget cycles, and when the TAC approves projects that are going to be VTrans projects, it's all a VSPS2 type thing. And that project, Route 117, almost did not get approved by the TAC, which meant it wouldn't have been done. And Don LaHaye went to bat for the town and got that project to remain on the VTrans radar.
Excellent.
Great. Yeah, Don has been the commissioner for several years.
Many.
And Alice, you have really seemed to have gotten heavily involved into their work, which has been great.
We're got a lot from them too this year, I believe.
Yeah, I agree. More than I remember. So how's that as a slate?
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
Just about Richard Backus and Fred, was it agreed, like, are you switching out your spot on the General Way House Commission for Richard, or was someone else gonna do that? Because I saw an interest that he wanted to be on the
He
commission.
wants to be on the commission, and until they find a replacement for me, I'll be on the commission, but I'm sliding out.
So we should go ahead and appoint you, and you might transition at some point?
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Is it, sorry, is there I think there might be a typo for the Green Up coordinator. I think it might be Bree Skoldberg, not
I believe you're right.
I knew Brick didn't look right, and I was
I
gonna.
believe you're right, yes.
Yeah, no, you're right, because she sounded great. Last week.
or no, BRI Goldberg, and there's no D. It's SKOLBERG.
Thank you.
Oh wait, no, there's a typo. Oh yeah, no, double check. Sorry, I'm looking at the Green Up Vermont website and double check with that person because I'm not sure how to spell their name.
I would move approval of appointed town officers as amended.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
That was great. That was well done.
Can we, table not table, but postpone the work plan position and discussion until after other business, and then we can decide how we want to proceed with that. The other things I really want to take care of tonight.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds great.
And that's going to be a really important conversation, and I know, just for background, I took the last one that I remember having, the last one we could find, and just did a cursory update to say, yeah, I think this is done, not sure where this is, this is in progress. I didn't add any new ideas. There are a number of other priorities and initiatives I know that are out there. I have some of my own that I wanted to introduce, so maybe if we can touch on that, what that looks like, and maybe
Yeah, the process.
at minimum what the process looks like, and if there's any big ideas that people want to put out there, we can do
And
that.
any extremely urgent things.
Yeah. So the next item would be, turn it to Fred. There have been some reports. I've heard a bunch of anecdotal, secondhand things about some rat issues in the village.
I received no written reports, written complaints. This had happened a couple of years ago. My investigation at that time, and what I sort of think is happening again, is people are composting simply by dumping their stuff on the lawn in a pile someplace. They're not using composting containers that are rat-proof. So the rats, coons, everything else gets into the compost pile and feeds. A couple of years ago when this happened, I put something out on Front Porch Forum reminding people that they need to use approved composting containers and not just dump it on the ground.
And I don't want to, I'm not going to name any properties because I don't want to, I don't have enough information to reliably say that. There have in the past been some kind of hoarding activity in the village that seemed to have contributed to
I
it.
investigated that too. It's unchanged from many years ago, but there was no garbage there. There was nothing that the rats would be feeding on.
It's just stuff that's been there for years.
It's just stuff that's been there for a very long time. Argument might be made that the cows are there, but you have these varmints because you're feeding them. So the feeding is the problem.
Same as bears.
I'm sorry?
Same as bears.
Yes.
Same with bears, yeah.
Exactly. We don't have a bear problem yet.
I don't know, somebody would argue.
So hoarding,
Within town.
That's right.
so hoarding does not equal a rodent problem,
No.
it's the food.
It's
I
food.
got that, okay.
It's all food. Yeah, I nosed around, took a look here, there, and the other place, and there was one establishment I looked at. Yeah, they need to pick up some candy wrappers and stuff, but there was nothing there, as there had been several years ago.
So with no complaint, there's no need for action.
That's correct.
Okay,
That's correct.
great. That's good.
I mean, there were kind of complaints, but yeah, not like,
The way I handle complaints, whether it's dogs or this or anything, it's not a complaint until I get it in writing.
And so if anybody says anything to anyone, if you hear of anything, somebody's talking about a problem, tell them to send Fred a note.
okay, that's
Drop me an
good.
email.
That's great.
Specifics, time, date. I need specifics.
That's helpful,
I just need specifics.
okay.
Okay. So the next item is the fire truck update. Apparently, fire chief has said that there is an opportunity to get some cost savings by ordering the fire truck now. It's in our capital budget for FY '27. We have just shy of $300,000 in reserve for the truck now. It will end up costing the town $340,000. We have in our capital budget making additional reserves in the next 2 years, which would more than cover that. And what I found recently, and this was a surprise to me, is that there's no cost in ordering a vehicle like this, that if we don't buy it, we decide, well, the voters didn't approve the money, we're just out of fire truck and they'll sell it to somebody else. But this puts it in line for us to have it when we are anticipating it in the capital budget. And York, you talked to Fayston, who's also aware of this. And
Yep, it's on their agenda for this coming Monday's meeting,
Okay.
but they are aware and had it in the works, you know, that they knew it was coming. Great.
And we just know the price is going up for 20 grand?
So essentially,
The price is going up 20 grand as of now. Who knows how much it'll go up?
essentially, what really happened is that the company that builds the fire truck doesn't buy, they don't have anything to say with the chassis. So they order the chassis and they lowered the price, if we order by mid-April, of the build by 20,000 to accommodate what they expect the chassis may go up by 20,000. So they're kind of giving us like a break over the next couple weeks if we order it sooner because they think the chassis might be more expensive. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And included in the packet was the specs and everything of what the fire truck would be like. And I'm relatively familiar with fire trucks just because some FEMA grants I'd helped write. And I asked a lot of questions about, you know, what's new on trucks and what we're looking for, electric cars, on and on and on. And everything that I know, which is not tons, he had already planned for. The truck's gonna be pretty awesome, really. Probably above and beyond what we've ever had by far.
I don't hear any downsides.
So, want to make a motion to authorize ordering that truck contingent upon Fayston also doing it?
I would so move.
Is there a second?
And second.
Got it.
Any discussion, all in favor? Aye.
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 And then we have one more thing to buy. Folks on the visit to the town garage saw our new truck. There were some cost savings there. We thought it would cost $70,000, but there was one on the lot, so we got it for a little over $60,000. But it's only half a truck. It's this chassis, and I didn't realize this is how it did it. That the company we bought the truck from works with another vendor to outfit it, to put the bed and the dump and the hydraulics and the sander and the plow and all that on. We had 2 bids. The high bid was over $40,000 and the low bid was $30,722.82. That was from Earl's?
Yep.
That was from Earl's.
The Uruguay was the other one.
Which was spot on for what Josh said he expected it to cost. And we did purchase that truck with unassigned balance. And this is not in our budget this year, so I'm assuming that we would do the same thing with that.
Yeah.
Any discussion? Is there a motion?
Question, there's, in the, not the airport, but the other Earls, there's, options for strobes and LED backup lights, et cetera, that it was just hard to tell whether that was included in their price or that's a additional.
I know that he said he wanted lights, and so that should be included.
Yeah, I kind of interpreted that, like the first one, option install 30-inch EPY toolbox on one side under body, add 705. I'm assuming that would be if we choose those options, it would be in addition to the 30,723, which is okay. I just want to make sure we approve the right, we could phrase it up to $33,000 or whatever, $34,000 to cover these options.
Not to exceed.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, good catch.
And down at the bottom, there's rear work light, primary add 303, rear work light secondary 163, and I don't know if the hybrid does.
And we don't think that's included. Have you done the math?
It's just hard to.
It doesn't look.
Let's double check.
tell.
It's not a lot of money.
No,
Yeah,
it doesn't include those, just eyeballing.
Can we approve a sum not to exceed
Yeah, it's 34,000.
34,000?
Yeah. Is that a motion?
Or
35, I think it should be.
What's that?
It should be 35.
Okay.
So eyeballing it.
But yes, you're.
35, not to exceed 35,000 for the new road department truck. No, that's not good. For the upgrade.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So
Aye.
talk to Josh about the options and let him know that we gave him the go-ahead for that. And then we took the, so how do you want to handle the work plan? It just was not going to be, we should not have even tried to bite it off tonight. Given
I
everything
pushed
else
as
on the
much as I
agenda.
could to the next meeting over.
Yeah.
I think it might also be worth thinking about how we are managing the workplace, like what system we are using for tracking. I feel like the variables that, I don't know that this is the right tool. I don't know that Excel is the right tool for this. And there are some other options that might be worth exploring, but I think in addition to making additions or revisions or updates to the work plan, it might be worth looking at how it's being implemented.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. And maybe rather than trying to build on something a couple of years old, we just start from scratch and have a session on what are our priorities for the
Yeah,
year.
go through these one by one and then add
Yeah.
additional priorities. Yeah.
In the past, Larissa, we used to, for a while, we would, I think before Annie left, we would, when we did our quarterly financial reports, we would look through the work plan to see what we were doing, what progress we were making, what we were leaving behind. And I think that was the idea, is let's check in on the work plan on a regular basis. At the same time, we're checking in on the budget.
Yeah, which sounds like a good sort of like accountability pathway, but I meant in terms of like the actual, well.
What are your ideas?
And yeah, so I do have some ideas, and those could be ideas that we discuss at another point. I think it needs to be a system that makes sense for York and that sort of works with his mind and his workflow. So yeah, I have some ideas. We can look at it. As I was reading through it, the everything is high priority feeling that Fred mentioned. I was like, well, so I feel like there are other axes we can examine this on, because there's high priority in an existential sense. It's like, this is important. And then there's high priority, like, this is really time sensitive. So I think there are other ways we can skin this cat, for
I totally
lack of
agree.
a better.
And every project kind of has understanding it and then your sub pieces, right? Like what you have to do first to to get the ball in someone else's court to hear back from, you know, and there's.
Subtasks.
Yeah, subtasks and how we're gonna manage that.
And also being clear on who owns what and
Yeah.
what the deadline is and so all that is to say, future conversation sounds
So
great.
is it a two-part conversation? Is let's first develop the process?
I think it can be probably done in parallel unless there's an objection.
Well, is there anything I can do to prepare for that meeting? Like, is there anything you guys would like me to do to help streamline that process for when we get to that? Like with your recommendations and just like, so we have a better starting off place when we're like, let's do this, and we don't have to, there's something that's already done that makes it easier.
So I would suggest that in the next week or so, I'm testing negative, so I am able to come and be in person, that basically we sit down in front of a computer and tinker with a couple of different methods and see what makes sense.
All right, so we have a date.
And go from there. Yeah.
Okay, that's
Well, let's connect after this because
Yeah,
it's
that's great. Yeah,
past
that's
9 p.m. I'm hungry. But yes, let's
Yeah,
in the
that's
next
good.
week.
Okay,
Okay, all right,
that might be helpful for when we meet and
yes,
talk about it as a board.
yes.
And get it to us ahead of
Workflow.
Yes.
more than
Workflow.
the Friday before, so
Yes.
that we can.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
as I have something, I'll just send it when we have it.
And
I just
so,
want to make sure I understood that. A smaller group is going to work offline to come up with a revised process or workflow or document to track stuff for the later.
and we as a board will then, based on that process, come up with where we think our priorities should be for the next year.
Well, the process and also the pre-existing
Okay,
documents to
Okay.
figure out
And just.
where we are. Does that make sense, John? Sorry.
Yeah, no, it does, and would be glad to see this format go.
yeah, I would too.
Yes, that's very similar.
That's awesome.
It was kind of, the reason I only did a little bit is because of the paralyzing format.
Yeah. Clarifying question, when we talk about the year, are we talking about like the calendar year that we're in, the fiscal year that's?
I think we
26,
should,
like our budget?
we should be at least through next town meeting,
I think it should be town meeting to town meeting.
or even fiscal year, but that's gonna involve town meeting, you know, but,
Yeah, I mean, in some ways it's a living
That's a
document, so
good-
it's a
that's a
really
yeah.
matter, but,
Good
but
stuff, kind of.
definitely it's up until town meeting at least, I would think.
all right.
'Cause
Well, and that's why, like, some of the priorities are things that are recurring, that are time sensitive and recurring at a particular time of the year. So that's a good question.
Well, the composite of the board will change after town meeting, or possibly.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That, yeah, well, yeah, I mean, of course, no, that's true.
So the new select person's coming on needs to have ownership.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't happen every year, every other year, the new person comes to.
And then some things are, you know, it helps cover workflow, and for you know, we're gonna do a budget every town meeting, we know that's gonna be a priority, because we can't not do it. So, how we do other things, how they affect that process
Sure, yeah.
is relevant.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, my goal, I think, to Larissa's point, is that when we come together and really say, let's tackle this, we're at a good starting place. And so if there's anything I can do to assist, I think we have a plan, and that's great.
But yeah, I think next steps is that we will have an offline confab with less than quorum to brainstorm ideas,
Awesome.
and less than quorum in York.
One thought in my head anyways, that's great, and I'm super supportive, and I'm confident we'll get to a way better place than this. What I would love to do though is in a timely manner, like next meeting or the meeting after, at least come up with like the short list of here's the kind of stuff we think should be on there. Could be 3 words, not all the start date, end date, subtasks, all that, but just a starting point. Like right now, current list we have is like half of the stuff's already done, half of it is a recurring task versus a project. It would help in my head to get our wheels turning, at least like here's a short list of like 20 things or whatever that we know need to be in the plan. That might actually help inform how we structure the workflow or whatever template we're gonna come up with.
Mhm.
No, that makes sense.
Yes.
Is there a benefit to, if people have ideas for things they would like to potentially see, to send them to York? So we can kind of compile them ahead of time?
I think that'd be great.
That would be, yeah, that'd be good.
And then, yeah, so discussion being held at the board meeting, but just start compiling so that we have a good starting off place. I think that's great.
Yeah, I likely won't be here at the next discussion, so I want
Next
to
two.
get that to you before I go.
So you're okay doing that when you're not here?
Yeah, as long as I can get some input.
I like your honesty.
Okay.
Does that address the concerns, or?
Yeah, no, to me, the only concern is not like delaying the actual discussion of what needs to be on there for 3 months while we
Yes.
work the
Right.
perfect document.
No, I think the perfect is the enemy of the good enough and getting done. I agree.
Even if we can't get to like a finalized work plan, if you guys are like, we know we want A, B, and done in the next few months, York, can you do this and this and whatever, and so that we have forward momentum. The whole document doesn't have to be complete for me to know where to go and other subcommittees.
To that end, is there anything that is so time sensitive that we need to say, yes, let's do it right now?
Yes, we need to wrap up the FEMA flood recovery, which we're almost there, and I'm passing the torch to York.
I'm very excited.
I bet.
If it's really almost there. I'm
And
scared.
then I think we have a public hearing on Friday,
Yep,
correct?
yep. Yeah, thank you for reminding us.
Public hearing,
It's
For the
for-
wastewater.
I thought that was Thursday, that's why my ears perked up. 'Cause I
No,
thought
it's
that-
Friday.
It's Friday? Oh, that's way better. Cool.
Friday, I don't know, it's at 3? It's at 3, right?
Oh, awesome.
3, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, three
Thanks
of-
for scheduling that.
3 of the select board have to be there.
Yeah.
And I won't be there.
And we're holding a hearing and someone from the state is coming? What is?
No,
what's
no
this-
one's from the
this,
state. It's
Josh
just-
Schwartz is coming.
So this is for the grant,
You have to have a public hearing.
Okay.
Yes, it has to be done the right way.
yeah,
And
And the representative from the state wanted it done ASAP.
yeah,
It has to be, the minutes from the meeting have to be part of our grant application, which is due like a couple days later.
Right, yeah, actually, we're gonna be submitting a week late, and.
But they gave us that,
And they said it's okay. As a matter of fact, in many ways, it may have been a benefit.
so you might want to plan on doing the minutes. I mean, they're gonna be short minutes.
Yeah, the
Yeah, yeah.
minutes will be really short.
You're right.
Board approved
Yeah.
authorized submission of this application.
And this is at the Village Meeting House, correct?
That's correct, yep.
All right, so this Friday, 3 p.m., Village Meeting House, public hearing. Hooray.
I'll be there Friday, not Thursday.
Well, you know, if you go Thursday, at least it's not,
Is it Tuesday, Thursday or Friday?
It's Friday.
Friday.
It's Friday.
if you go
3 o'clock.
Thursday, at least you know you didn't miss it. If you go Saturday, then you can't go back in time. Friday at 3, at the Village Meeting House.
church. Perfect.
Okay. So we pulled the minutes from the consent agenda?
There were just a couple of typos. I don't know what, Fred, I think you had something too, right?
Yeah, the adjournment time was incorrect.
Yeah, I think it was 7:40 something instead.
The official adjournment time, I think was 0751, not 0651.
It was 1 hour off.
Correct. I think that was around daylight savings time, so I think that might be where that, or spring forward or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
The only other thing was that on line 126, spelling of the last name of the vice president was incorrect. So it's Vance with a V.
Oh, that's funny.
That was the only other thing I had.
And I'll just point out, Fred was correct. That, you know, in the minutes, it does say that we did not agree to the $1,000 and that we look into the ADA. So Well done.
I'm glad you caught that.
I do.
Okay, so with those changes, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve the amendments as amended.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So,
Hey.
leads us to the consent agenda. You know, we haven't always had a motion on this. My understanding is we really should act on these items. The idea of a consent agenda is just things that we know we don't need to talk about, and we can just go ahead with. So I take a motion on approving the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? What's wrong, Fred?
Do you need to discuss?
We might.
No, I'm okay. No.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
And select board roundtable? Anybody?
Yeah, there's a couple items.
Yeah.
I would like to see that the letter to the Mad River Green Shopping Center is approved.
It already went
It
out.
actually went out a week ago today.
Okay.
And that was my call.
Yeah, that's
York
fine.
said he wanted to put that and the letter about the reappraisal on the agenda, and I just said, we already said we wanted to do that, just take care of it.
Good, okay.
So that one was sent out a week ago today, and the reappraisal went out today.
Thank you for doing this.
The
Okay,
reappraisal
thank
went
you.
out.
I just wanted to close the loop, I want to make sure.
Yeah.
That's why I said I wanted to do it under his roundtable, because one of his activities.
And we have not had a response back.
Okay. And there's an action item in the minutes from on the 10th, and that was the town report was going to be posted to the website, and it has not.
I think it has.
It wasn't as of yesterday.
It might be at the bottom. Did you look? Because
I looked saw all the other previous years' reports, but I did not see this year's.
I'm pretty sure it's there, but it might take me a second to find it.
And also on the website, it still has the job announcement for the treasurer and the road maintainer.
So at the bottom of the town report is the 2024 annual report. As of now, I have not been able to figure out how to get it to the top. So it's 23, 22, 21, 20, and then 2024 at the bottom of it. So there's the 2024.
Oh, okay.
So I spent a little while trying to figure out the top, and I can't figure it out.
Okay.
And then what did you say? There's some vacancies that are on
Yeah,
there?
the front page probably could use a little updating.
Is it possible to get, so the things on the select board
Mhm.
that are on the front page, that have, town reports, there's
Yes.
a link on the front page, when you go to the actual select board page, it's not there. Like, the town reports aren't,
Yeah, and
There's like a front menu that doesn't exist on this level.
yeah, and I don't understand
The
why.
town reports are on the town clerk's page, I think.
Technically, even though it doesn't look like it, they are. It's like on the, we can go over this another time because it's very
The select
confusing.
board,
No, I agree, which is why it took a long time to find it, actually, because it's the infrastructure of the way we built it
okay.
is a little difficult for me to understand, but I'm working on trying to learn.
Yeah, that is weird.
And list of meeting dates, are they forthcoming?
Oh, yes, that was another thing. I have them written down as, I have the ones that are questionable because they fall on holidays. Unless was there something that went out?
No, I think the request was made to do a calendar of meeting dates for the year. So our next, our meeting schedule of the second and fourth Tuesday, we did agree to that last meeting. Monday, sorry, with the request that.
Okay, I was like, oh no.
Sorry.
Okay.
And just a reminder, I'm not available in any of the meeting dates in April. We'll be back for the meeting on May 12th.
So,
Right, so the meeting dates in April will be the 14th and the 28th.
And we typically go 6:30, correct? Is that right?
6:30, yeah.
and very doubtful that I can zoom in on 14th.
Of April. Oh, that means we'll be down too, so Dave and Chacha and Larissa, you're all planning on being here April 14th?
Yes.
That is the plan, unless we wanted to try to schedule it for a different time.
I would hope that we wouldn't do the priorities with 3 members.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah.
But, that's okay, if Larissa and I come up with something and then we have more and more and we can build upon it, and every couple weeks it's better, it doesn't mean that we have actions.
Yeah, if you touch base about the process and kind of work that out, that'd be fine.
So would you like me, Fred, to just, I should come up with the whole year of calendars and just put them
There
on?
should be a template. I know you're having a hard time finding Andy's stuff.
I cannot find yours.
Have you
Well,
talked to
it's-
you, asked her?
A little bit, but no, not specifically. We're gonna have lunch
It's
maybe next week. but-
Pretty basic, it's
Yeah.
just, it's nothing super sophisticated, it's just a word processing document with
Okay.
dates.
Yeah, I should have already done that, I'm sure.
So the only question in the next 2 months, so we have April 14th and 28th. The second and fourth Mondays in May are the 12th, and then the 26th is Memorial Day.
Mhm.
I think if we could at least figure out what the next 2 months of meetings are so that we can put it up on the
Okay.
website.
So what do
That
you
would
wanna
be good.
do, what do you wanna do for the May meetings then? 12 and,
Well, I don't know what you guys typically do if it's on a holiday.
Historically, the select board didn't care and they just made staff work that day. I've never felt good about that.
Hey, that's not my favorite.
Didn't bother me at all.
No, it's not mine either.
No, I'm fine with that, I'm just.
so do you wanna go the following Monday?
So just, this is just I don't know, I'll throw it out. If we moved, since I don't know what I'm saying, I was wondering about moving up May's meetings. If there's gonna be quorum problems for a lot of April, you're away for a couple weeks, Fred?
Yeah, we can move.
We could do one meeting in April and move the May meetings up and then get back on schedule?
That sounds smart. So you mean like,
Good idea.
And then the June, there's 5 Mondays in June, so we'd have a break. It's like the 5th and 19th,
for May?
yeah,
And then when do you wanna do the April? If we
whenever.
could stick.
21?
Fred, you would be here on the 21st.
Right, and then the 21st,
It's vacation.
I'm gonna be out of town. I will have internet access, but I feel like it's gonna be difficult to run a meeting
That's the
from.
day.
The only day we should, or I would request that we don't do is the 21st.
Yeah, it's the day after Easter.
How about just the 14th with a small quorum?
I think that's smart. And time-wise, that makes sense. 14th of
And then we
April,
could go to the
5th, and
5th.
19th of May.
Yeah, and then we have a little break in the 9th and the 23rd of June, yeah.
Okay, can we restate all of
Yeah,
those
and
dates
lots of-
one more time, just to make sure?
Do you want me to do it?
Yeah.
Or like have a recap email or
Right.
something? Sorry.
April 14th, May 5th, May 19th, June 9th, June 23rd.
And then,
Right.
yeah, and then second and fourth for the foreseeable future after that.
Sounds good.
Is that something you?
There will be one week in July that I'm not available. But that doesn't need to be resolved right now. I'm just, what's that?
I was just double checking the June dates.
Is that something you could get out to us prior to the next meeting,
Yes.
as opposed to putting it in the next meeting packet?
The dates?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can send an email tomorrow and just,
Remember to,
and I'll just try to figure out how to update the website better.
and we'll need a Front Porch Forum notice at some point that the meeting schedules change in the short term.
Okay, I'll probably ask Jen to do that.
Yeah, she's good for that.
and then you got that.
So, done with the select board roundtable, done with the town administrators roundtable?
Yeah, I mean, covered it all in the meeting.
Motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
On the bid? All in favor?
That was 5 ayes.
Okay, we're adjourning at 9:28 and we can stop the recording.
Thanks, Larissa.